What's up to all my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 122 and season 4, episode 20 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. It's your boy Stony coming back at you for the 122nd time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow hoodlums, scumbags, lowlifes, shady characters, anybody named Phil Mickelson, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, hustlers, cheats, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, friends and family of the gooch, fienders with abusive language, and degenerates. I mean, let's face it, anybody with a massive gambling problem. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into a few of those categories. So welcome, because you're now one of us. One of us. One of us. One of us. Gooba gobba. One of us. We accepted one. Sorry. I get a little excited every now and then. You know, these things happen from time to time. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right here in the lower right-hand corner. That way you can get notified every time that I put out a new video. And to spread the word, that's also very easy. Just tell other degenerates and scumbags that you know to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That'll give you everything you know, everything you need. It'll take you right to my page so you can get dialed in. Also, if you're new and you don't know what's what with this channel, it's college and pro football winners, MLB playoff winners, and college basketball winners. I give you my picks to get you to the window with a ticket to cash. The books don't expect a guy like me to deliver this many winners. I'm an outlier and a disruptor. I'm like the Beastie Boys. Step into the party, disrupt the whole scene. That's what I do. I go to the mattresses and I get the info for you every single week. Now, before I get to the picks, I have a few thoughts and programming notes as usual. I spent last weekend in our nation's capital. It was the first time I've ever been, and I had a ball. I've obviously never seen all the monuments, and I did a tour on Saturday night in which I got to see all the biggies. I can't rank them because they were all impressive, even in the cold weather. On Sunday, I went on to FedEx Field in Landover to see the Niners versus the Commando Skins. FedEx is regularly ranked as the worst stadium in the NFL now that the Raiders have left Oakland, and I can see why. Maybe with a new ownership, they can get a new one. They've got a lot of money to spend, but wow, was I unimpressed. The shocking thing for me was that 49er fans were at about 50% clip there, and it'll probably be the same this Sunday when Dallas comes to town. So basically, if you've never been to the DMV, which stands for DC, Maryland, Virginia, I suggest you go, because no matter what side of the political aisle you may sit on, you will leave with American pride for the beauty of these monuments in a crime-ridden city. I got home early on New Year's Day around 9 a.m. Central Time so I could enjoy New Year's Day Bowl madness, and my biggest takeaway is that the committee got it right. Forget about the other four bowl games that were played on New Year's Day and just concentrate on the college football playoff. Both games were fantastic, and there was a noticeable difference in the level of play from the early games to the last two games. Forget about the fact that I cashed a lot of tickets and that I hit both sides and both totals of the playoff games, and just think about how exciting those games were. Congrats to the committee for giving us the four best teams in the nation and getting to see Harbaugh versus Saban at the Rose Bowl. Everybody down here in the South is all up in arms now because an SEC team is not playing for the national championship. But that's the way it goes. Freaking deal with it, all right? It's not a rite of passage just because you live in SEC country. Now, with Michigan versus Washington in the title game, it feels like an old-school Rose Bowl with Bo Schembechler versus Don James. Yeah, I loved everything about New Year's Day, and I can't wait for Monday night. And to top it all off, last night, right here in Music City, I went and saw the Predators shut out Chicago 3-0. And even though he didn't score, I did get to see Blackhawk rookie Connor Bedard. Ugh. And he's the real deal at only 18 years old. Man, that guy can move, he can skate, he can sling it around. He didn't score last night, but, you know, he looks good. And he's 18, which to me, I just still can't even fathom. Yeah, I know puck. Unlike a certain fiender in West Sacramento who claims he knows puck, he doesn't. He claims he knows ponies, he doesn't. And he claims he knows WNBA, which is odd because nobody watches, nobody wagers on, and nobody cares about the WNBA. So much so that the league gets bailed out every year by the NBA, because the attendance, ratings, and let's face it, the interest just isn't there. Please. Next up, if you're true degenerates, you know about the Sports Grid radio and TV app. I'll start by saying I have no affiliation or anything whatsoever with Sports Grid, so I just want to point out that you need to get it. It's sports gambling 24/7 on the app, and most cable stations have it somewhere, right? You can listen on the radio. That's what I do. I catch it on the radio, and if I'm home, sometimes I'll find it on TV and I'll check it out. There are some familiar names and some that aren't so familiar, but there's one guy I wanted to mention. His name's Dave Sharapan. Now, I'm not a big fan of this guy, and he hosts a show called The Bostonian and the Book. He's the book. He had a segment last week where he talked about winning percentages in gambling. And I quote, 55% winners is very good, 58% is excellent, and 60% is retirement, depending on account management. So for those of you novices, think of it like that. You're not going to win all the time, and the average bettor loses most of the time. But if you put in the work and the research and hit over 55%, then you're golden. With that being said, here's a look at the week that was. 2 straight brutal weeks now in the NFL at the end of the season is not where I wanted to be. After my worst week ever 2 weeks ago, last week wasn't much better. 6-10 is just unacceptable, as the NFL numbers that I worked so hard for this season took a massive tumble in 2 weeks to get back to very good, down from great. The week wasn't a loss, though, as I delivered 16, 10, and 1 in NCAA hoops, which is just fine. And to close out bowl season, though, I dropped a mind-numbing 24-13, highlighted by, like I said above, 4-0 in the college football playoffs on Monday and a 9-3 Monday overall in bowl games, even with some games that were throwaways as bowl games. They become harder to pick, right? They just, with all the transfers and everything and everybody moving out and, they're just getting real tough. But add up all those numbers and it's a winning week. So here are the numbers total. 46 wins, 33 losses, 1 push, 58.23%. That's excellent. Followed my best week with my worst week last week, but this week was solid. I will take it. NFL for the season, 149 wins, 108 losses, 3 pushes. Good for 57.98%. That's below 58 when I was sitting at 62 for most of the season. That horrible 2-week slide saw my numbers drop 4.5%. That's just crazy. College bowl games, closed them out 34, 19, and 1. 64.15%. Those numbers shot up to close out a very profitable bowl season with 1 game left. NCAA hoops for the season, 277 wins, 208 losses, 3 pushes, 57.11%, still battling back from a brutal start to the season. MLB playoffs, I don't need to give you those numbers. NCAA football regular season. So overall, every single pick that I've given you through 19 weeks of the season, 705 wins, 510 losses, and 12 pushes. 58.02%. I was closing in on 59. Now I'm down, but that's all right. We'll get there. Please remember that all these picks are 100% free. So for all the touts that give you 75 to 80% winners, all right, we all know you're full of shit. and you're charging people for these picks. With me, just come to YouTube every week and I'll drop my plays on you for free. You can also follow me on X at Stony Woods. STONIE Woods. So, the new week began last night with my college hoops picks on Stoniecast 121's comments page. And 5-4 isn't great, but a wise man once said, you can't go broke taking a profit. So it's time to move on to tonight's games, and we'll get it started. 6:30 Eastern, where I'm going to dance with George Mason, minus 3.5 at LaSalle. Also at 6:30 Eastern on FS1, I like Providence at home, minus 6 over Seton Hall, because the Friars are red hot right now while the Hall is struggling. Shout out Joe Willie Namath. 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network, I'm on Davidson at home, plus 4.5 over Dayton. 7 Eastern on ACC Network, give me Georgia Tech, plus 4.5 at Florida State. 7 Eastern on Big Ten Network, I like Rutgers, plus 8.5 at Ohio State. 7 Eastern on ESPN2, I'm all over Louisville, plus 16 at Virginia. 8 Eastern on ESPN, give me Miami, Florida, minus 1.5 at home over Clemson. 8:30 Eastern on FS1, I like Xavier, plus 8.5 at Villanova. 9 Eastern on Big Ten Network, I'm on Indiana, plus 6 at Nebraska. 9 Eastern, ACC Network, give me North Carolina State, minus 4.5 at Notre Dame. 9 Eastern on ESPN2, I like UCLA, minus 4.5 over Stanford. 10 Eastern on Pac-12 Network, for those of you that can get it. I can't because I live in the South. I'm on USC, minus 7.5 over Cal. And lastly, 10:30 Eastern tonight on FS1, I'm going to take Fresno State, plus 16 at San Diego State. That's a baker's dozen of plays on a busy Thursday night to get us going. With no football until Saturday, make sure to keep checking back every day in the comments section for more college hoops picks. Now, let's hit the NFL hard, and we'll start on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time on ABC in Baltimore, where the 9-7 Steelers are 4-point favorites, road favorites, over the 13-3 Ravens. Pittsburgh gets into the playoffs with a win and a loss by either Jacksonville or Buffalo. But the bottom line is that Pitt can win, go 10-7, and miss the playoffs. The Ravens aren't playing for anything and will lay down. Give me the Ravens here on the road. Give me the Steelers here on the road, since this is the start of the playoffs for Pittsburgh. Saturday, 8:15 Eastern in primetime on ABC in Indianapolis. The 9-7 Colts are 1-point home favorites over the 9-7 Texans in a playoff game for both teams here. Win and you're in for both teams is the scenario. But they both win the AFC South too, with a win and a loss from Jacksonville. Both teams have played well enough to earn a playoff berth, but Indy has been more steady throughout the year, so I'm going to roll with the Colts here in what should be a really good one. I'm looking forward to it. Moving on to Sunday, we'll kick off at 1 Eastern in the Queen City as 8-8 Cincinnati's a 5-point home favorite over 11-5 Cleveland in a meaningless game. Cincy's out of the playoffs and cannot get in, while Cleveland is already locked into the number 5 seed regardless of what happens this weekend. The Brownies will be resting starters, and who knows how serious Cincinnati's going to take this, even if it is their heated rival. This one's a crapshoot. Give me the Browns and the points. 1 p.m. Eastern in the Motor City, 11-5 Detroit is a 5.5-point home favorite over 7-9 Minnesota. The Lions have a chance to steal the NFC's number 2 seed, but they would need both Dallas and Philly to both lose. So it looks like they're going to probably be the NFC's 3 seed and would host either the Rams or the Packers in next week's playoffs. The Vikings need to win and get losses from 5 other teams to make it. That ain't going to happen. So since they're out and the Lions still kind of sort of have a fighting chance, I'll take the Lions -5 and a hook in the 3-1-3. 1 Eastern here in Music City. 9-7, Jacksonville's a 5-point road favorite over 5-11 Tennessee. Jacksonville's playoff started 3 days ago with a win over Carolina. Now, in order to win the AFC South, all they have to do is beat Tennessee, which 11 other teams have done already this year. They can still get in with a loss, but they would need losses from Pittsburgh and Denver in order to get the last seed in the AFC. Tennessee's eagerly anticipating the end of a really bad season. Jayville's banged up, but wins this one and covers pretty easily. 1 p.m. Eastern in Foxborough, 4-12 New England is 2.5-point home favorites over the 6-10 Jets in a true who gives a shit game. This one is all about draft positioning, but with plenty of whispers surrounding the futures of both Robert Saleh and Bill Belichick. Could they be playing for their jobs? Who knows? Who cares? Give me the Jets and the short number on the road. 1 p.m. in the Big Easy, 8-8 New Orleans is a 3.5-point favorite over 7-9 Atlanta. Both teams have an outside shot at a playoff berth, though both seem unlikely. The Saints win the NFC South with a win and a loss by Tampa Bay to Carolina, which won't happen. They can also get a wild card with a win and losses from Seattle, Green Bay, and Minnesota. The Falcons can win the South with a win and a Carolina loss. So yes, both teams are playing for an outside shot, however unrealistic it may be. New Orleans is playing much better than Atlanta, so I'll take Atlanta because nothing makes sense these days. Give me the Falcons. 1 Eastern in Charlotte, 8-8 Tampa Bay is a 5.5-point road favorite over 2-14 Carolina. Tampa wins and they win the NFC South and will host either Dallas or Philly next week in the playoffs. Carolina's done, and they have been done for many, 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 many weeks. Shout out Police Academy. Many, 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 many weeks. Despite Tampa laying an egg 3 days ago in their blowout loss at home to New Orleans, I see there's no way that Carolina keeps this one close. Give me Tampa, lay the hammer. 4:25 Eastern at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. The 8-8 Packers are 3-point home favorites over the 7-9 Bears. The Pack get into the playoffs with a win. A 49er win over the Rams gives the Packers the 7 seed, while a Rams win gives the Packers the 6. They can sneak in through the back door with a loss and losses for Minnesota, Seattle, and New Orleans. The Bears are out. But they've been one of the best teams in the NFL over the last month and a half. Yeah, it's in Lambeau, but Chicago has the hot hand, so give me the Bears and the points on the road. 4:25 Eastern in America's Playground, Las Vegas. The 7-9 Raiders are 2.5-point home chalk over 8-8 Denver, with both teams eliminated from the playoffs. So with that being said, the question is, can the Raiders win 8 games? Or can the Broncos finish with a winning record? Nobody anywhere saw the Raiders winning 8 games, least of all me, but it's going to happen. Denver goes out with a whimper and the Raiders get the win and cover to close out the season. 4:25 Eastern at Snoopyville in New Jersey. 11-5 Philadelphia comes in as 5.5-point road favorites over the 5-11 Giants. Philly gets the NFC's number 2 seed and the NFC East title with a win and a Dallas loss. If Dallas wins, Philly drops to the 5 seed and gets a trip to the NFC champion next week, which is probably Tampa Bay. The problem is that the Eagles blew their shot by allowing Arizona to beat them 3 days ago. The Giants, even though they've lost 3 straight, have covered the last 2, including in Philly 2 weeks ago. The Eagles lack confidence and an identity. I like the Giants right now at home catching 5.5. 4:25 Eastern in Glendale. 8-8 Seattle comes in as 3-point road chalk over the 4-12 Cardinals. Seattle's shot at the playoffs took a major hit by getting beat by Pittsburgh on Sunday. So now the only way they can get in is with a win and a loss by Green Bay to Chicago, which is possible. Yes, Arizona has looked completely different with Kyler Murray at the helm, and even here at home, I like Seattle with the points on the line in the Valley of the Sun. That's it. Seattle has to be the play there. 4:25 Eastern in Inglewood, always up to no good. The 5-11 Chargers are 1.5-point favorites over 10-6 Kansas City. The Chargers are long gone from the playoffs, and this will almost certainly be Brandon Staley's last game as head coach. And, well, what am I talking? Brandon Staley was fired a couple weeks ago. Brandon Staley has been fired. They have no coach. They're a complete disaster, right? The Chiefs have won the AFC West for the 8th straight year, and the AFC's 3 seed locked up. So they'll host the playoff game next week against Buffalo if the season ends today. With the Chiefs B team on the field and who knows what the Chargers have planned, right? I'm going to take the Chargers here, right? At home against the Kansas City team that's going to be resting everybody. So give me the Chargers and the points. 4:25 Eastern at Denim Jeans Stadium in the Silicon Valley. The 12-4 49ers are a 4-point home favorite over the 9-7 Rams. With the 49ers expected to sit all their key players, having wrapped up a first-round bye next week, this one is all about the Rams, who have clinched the wild card spot. A 6 seed goes to the Rams with a win over the Niners, but they've lost 9 straight regular season games to Kyle Shanahan's punch. The only way they fall to the 7 seed is if they lose and the Packers beat the Bears. It looks like the Rams next week will go to either Dallas, Philly, or Detroit, win or lose. Even with the 49ers resting, I'll take them and I'll lay the 4 at home because I don't see the Rams putting 30 on the Niners. 4:25 Eastern in our nation's capital, where I just was on Sunday. 11-5 Dallas is a 13.5-point road chalk over 4-12 Washington. Dallas gets the NFC title and the number 2 seed with a win. And even though they struggle on the road, Washington's lost 7 in a row and 9 out of 10. Dallas will get the 2 seed, but can they cover 2 touchdowns? I say yeah. Lay 'em. And finally, at 8:20 Eastern on NBC in Miami, 10-6 Buffalo's a 3-point favorite over the 11-5 Dolphins. Hang on. For Buffalo, it's complicated. From a division to out of the playoffs. A win here gets them their 4th straight AFC East title and the AFC's number 2 seed. A loss for Buffalo gives Miami the AFC's number 2 seed, and Buffalo would need either a Steelers or Jaguars loss or a tie between Houston and Indianapolis. Otherwise, they're going home. The Bills are red hot right now and a very scary team, and Tua's banged up. And it looks like the loser of this game heads to Kansas City next week, which neither team wants. So I'll take Miami at home to get it done. That's all your NFL plays for the last weekend of the NFL season. But the week ain't over, because Monday night we got the NCAA National Championship in Houston, Texas. Game time is 7:30 Eastern at NRG Stadium on ESPN. And top-ranked Michigan is a 4.5-point favorite over second-ranked Washington, and the total is set at 55.5. Washington matched up very well with Texas and took them out on Monday night behind another brilliant performance by Michael Penix Jr. I don't ever recall seeing a quarterback that throws such accurate deep balls as Penix. It's ridiculous. He has complete command of the offense and the pocket, especially when it collapses. But he just torched Texas's weakness, their secondary. Michigan's defense is much better. Michigan's offensive line is also better than Texas's O-line. The Wolverines are going to run the ball. That's what they do. And they control the line of scrimmage. The Huskies are going to toss it around the yard and utilize their strength. An accurate quarterback and the best 3 receivers in recent memory, in which all 3 will be playing on Sundays very soon. These 2 schools will be in the same conference in 8 months, which is scary. But they'll give us a taste on Monday night. Washington's defense has played well enough, and they played well against Texas, but their biggest task is trying to slow down the run by not allowing Texas to bully them at the line of scrimmage. All of the Jim Harbaugh haters, shout out Ohio State fans, and you know who you are, Mo, are just beside themselves right now. All of you that said he only won because he was stealing signs, well, it's kind of safe to say that you all been wrong. And I was right the whole time. The same can be said about Michael Penix Jr., who, according to Fox's college football guru, Joel Klatt, makes half of the NFL teams better tomorrow. We got the two best teams in the country facing off for the national championship. Sorry, SEC fans, but it's true. These are the only two unbeaten teams left. And when it is all said and done, I'm going to stick with my guns and take who I said I was going to take to win the national championship 2 months ago, Michigan money line. But can they cover the 4.5? I think this is another great game, and it's a one-score game. I think Michigan wins, but Washington has enough juice to cover, so I'm going to take the Huskies catching 4.5 and under 55.5 to close out the week and the college football season. So this is the last video that's going to be posted on Wednesday until the NCAA tournament comes in March. Next week's video and the remainder of all Stoniecasts are going to come on Friday nights. The thing is, though, that because the NCAA hoop lines don't go up for the next day until about 7 Eastern the night before, expect the majority of the videos to drop around 10 Eastern on Friday evenings going forward. So make sure you get your bets and your picks in, and I'll be the guy waiting for you at the window with a ticket to cash. So until next Friday, just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets, it can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Happy New Year, everybody. Miss you, Gooch. My brother.